Series. I'm Richard Rastusha, Vice President of Water Management Solutions for Jane. And today we're going to be talking about seasonal startups, but we're going to have a very specific focus on AgTech irrigation products. Now, a lot of people I know think about a startup. This is typically turning on valves, cleaning your filters, flushing pipes, walking your system, and making sure everything's working properly. Well, we wanted to remind people that particularly there are some seasonal startups that you can do for your ag tech products and your software as well. And just like all maintenance and preventative activities like this one, taking the time to do it early in the season and to do it at all tends to save you tons of time and, more importantly, tons of money down the road. So today, helping us through this session is David Lindsay. Now, 10 years ago, David Lindsay was in the Navy working on an aircraft carrier. And I mention that because when I think about a vehicle that has to have precise maintenance, precise taking care of things, making sure they don't break when you need them, and taking care of things ahead of time so that when you really need it, it's working properly. It's an aircraft carrier. So then I think about David's participation in all these ag tech products, and I think, oh, it makes a whole lot more sense why David does such a great job for Jane and Jane's customers in the ag tech area. You know, he's been working in this for quite a few years now, and more importantly, super helpful to his customers. If you're having an issue, if you're having a problem, Dave's always there 24/7, 365. Really, it does feel like that with Dave to answer those questions and help you. And so with that, I want to say, Dave, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Richard. Again, a fantastic introduction. Naval aviation is very, very precise, and I was in the ordnance field as well. So if you did it wrong, people got injured or killed. So I love this work because I do try and put that precision in. And again, you know, we talk about all the time, the data you put in, the more accurate it is, the better the data that comes out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Dave, you guys have started water management services for growers, and you're like a month into this now, into this new season. How's it going?
It's really taken off. We're really busy right now doing distribution uniformity tests for I think we're up to maybe 12 customers. I think we've signed on 7. We're looking at 12. We said we were going to do 10. I don't know where we're going with on the business side of that, but I've spent a lot of time in the field doing distribution uniformities. I've even posted pictures on Instagram saying, hey, if somebody can guess what I'm doing, I'll give you a free demo on Jane Logic. No nibbles yet on that. I don't think they know what I'm doing because DU tests are not as popular as I thought they would be. But for WMS, they're very important. And in part of what I'm going to show you today, you'll see where the DU is added. I have a DU that was done on the field that we're going to make the changes to. Seasonal adjustment doesn't have to include a DU, but it's good. The system, I think, was 4 or 5 years old, so it was time for one. And we found that there was a significant degrade in the uniformity of the water, so it will impact the data output.
Yeah. So Dave, we're talking about seasonal startup, and we just mentioned we're a month into the into the season. So have I missed my opportunity? Is that window closed to do anything? I mean, am I talking about next year? Can I still do these things today?
No, now is the best time to do them. You usually want to get a couple irrigation events in. It kind of exercises the system to see what's broken, so to speak. We'll look at the infiltration just like if we were brand new install. We look at the infiltration over a couple of irrigation events. We make a recommendation on setting a root zone because we can see where the water's going and where the tree is taking it. We're going to kind of do the same process this year, the seasonal adjustment, because we know the trees have grown. We know the roots are deeper, and slight maintenance like that needs to be done. Some of the aspects we'll cover that we are in work of automating a portion of it, but some of it really can't be. It has to be the grower. And I think that's important on the user end because it gets you in there, it gets your hands in the tools. And I know I learn best by doing.
That's great. So just to remind everybody, we believe in seasonal maintenance, early preseason maintenance on things like filters and valves and a emitter line and all that. But really what we are talking about today is the software.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And that
Absolutely.
software is Jane Logic.
Yes,
So
sir.
the dashboard we're looking at right now. So Dave, what's the first thing I should be doing?
Well, so the first one we're going to look at here is most of the adjustments on this ranch have already been made. The grower is very hands-on with his product. It's Larry Rompaw from Agri Valley Irrigation. His ranch manager uses it religiously. You can even see he has some alerts set up on water quantities at depth. That's up to each person to set those individually. Of course, I'll help you. We've got good ideas on what to do there. Well, the first thing we looked at was the Jameson Ranch here. You can see his infiltration rate widget right here. He ran 2 irrigation events already this season. And we see at the second one, he ran it for 42.30 hours and he got water all the way down to the bottom of his root zone. So he's sitting at 28 inches. Now, I know, because I know the customer, that these trees, they're not done growing. They're pretty new. I think they were planted in 18 or 19, and we'll see that in a minute. But we need to add another year to that. So my recommendation is obviously to drop the root zone down past 28. I think we're going to go to 32 just to get him past where he's bottoming out. So he's already doing it. He knows where he wants to put that water. I'm just going to make the adjustments for him so we can show everybody exactly what he's up to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think what you call this is changing the borders. Is that right?
Yeah, setting boundaries.
Boundaries. Okay.
Or root zone sum. Yeah, this is actually, we're going to do a little bit of both.
Okay.
And I'll bring us into the tool set here, our configuration. I've already got the ranch highlighted here, so I know it's going to go right to that. And the first thing I want to look at is, I'm going to look at the root zone soil moisture sum 12 to 28 inches. Now, granted, that's just a name we call it. I know I'm going to change this to 32. So to keep customers and keep my customers aware of what we're doing here, we'll change that to 32 because I know I'm going to go down here to the 32-inch sensor. I'm going to click it after, sorry, I might have to hit save here. Sorry, the screen. I want to make sure I save that data. And then I'm going to go down to the 32-inch sensor. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click this button right here. So all I did was I added the data from this sensor pack into that sum, which now will run through the algorithm, and then it'll make the adjustments on the colors and where we're at with the total moisture content that's set with our boundaries. I'm not going to make any boundary adjustments yet. I'm just changing the root depth down to 32 inches.
Okay, a couple things here, Dave, right? When I think about
Sure.
boundaries, right? It's baseball season, right? So I think about boundary as, that portion of the field that's between the foul lines. But in this case, right, because we're talking about soil moisture, we're actually talking depth now, how deep you're going. So
Yes,
apparently he already had a soil moisture sensor that went to 32 inches.
yeah, this is a 48-inch sensor total.
So how come you just don't activate all the levels when you first install, so you see the water all the way down to 48 inches?
So that's a great question. We do see all the water all the way down to 48, but this is kind of like having a variable scope on a rifle. You talk sports, I talk hunting, I guess. We're zooming in that scope. We're changing our magnification because we're getting in a more precise shot. The root zone, obviously the roots are growing deeper. So all I'm doing is I'm adding I'm kind of zooming out maybe a little bit on my optics with that analogy, but I want to broaden the depth range that I'm storing water because I know that range is accessible to the tree. We don't want to go past it because especially when it comes to nutrients and savings on your kilowatts in your water, you don't want to blow past it, especially with nutrients.
Okay, and so then if I had all mature trees, if I had no new plantings in the last few years, this would be a step I wouldn't have to take?
No, you might not have to.
Okay.
If your trees are 15 years old, your root zone's probably down to 48 inches. And in pistachios, we see it past 62 inches in some cases. So yeah, you're pretty much done with this portion of your seasonal adjustments. Other aspects, we still want you to go in and check, obviously, to fine tune which one would be next. We're going to cover the coefficiency curve for your ETC.
Okay, very interesting. So this works, I see how this works easily with trees. What about other crops? What about like grapes, for instance? I know we've got a lot of customers that grow grapes.
Yeah, I think everybody uses the same basic principles. What will change is the longevity of the crop, I guess. What's the lifespan of it? You know, if it's a permanent crop, you know, it's going to live a lot longer. Roots are going to get deeper. If you're looking at a seasonal crop, you're probably going to be doing these changes once at planting, and then you're probably done because you've grown that carrot or that apple, or not an apple, or a tomato so many times, you know, you're not getting your roots past 16 inches because that's where your drip's at. Maybe you are, but maybe not. I dealt with cucumber growers and tomato growers that they don't care about anything past 16 inches. I think that's where they bury their drip tape.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So all these growers are consistently working on improvement changes, acquiring new property, new land. So there's probably opportunity for them to make these adjustments every year if they're growing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. So the other area I'm going here. So this was actually the device itself. Now I'm going to go to the field. The field unit is the polygon is drawn around the acres. It gives you a calculated acres, 17.47 for this customer. You can see if any adjustments to the boundaries need to be made, like you want to take out a house, you want to take out the pump site, you want to take out the road. This is where you do all that. Normally that's done at setup, so we usually don't have to mess with that here. Crop type, you have almonds. They were planted in 2018. Obviously, they're not completed yet. I have no variety set in here, and the device is active. So we're using this as a data set point. Irrigation system, this is where it gets critical. Previously set up, I call this the homework to the customer when we first set up. This is the information we need to know from day one. Pressure transducer that's at the site would be listed here. That's self-explanatory, does it on its own. That's how we calculate applied water for that field while that's on. And that with the application rate gives us our applied water. It is drip compensated. He's at 0.035 inches per hour, and his uniformity is at 90. Now, what we found here is actually we're looking more like an 85 on this. So this is where I'm going to change it. So it's been another year. I wouldn't say he lost, 5%, but it's very possible over a year. He did flush. He has run, I think, infuric acid. He's cleaned it all out, but his DU was a little lower. The system's a little older. So it was a good time to do that. So I'm going to change that to 85. And then he doesn't have a user start date in here. Now that we know by the planted date, well, we can suspect, which I've confirmed, is the actual date. So we're looking, I think it was, where were we at? I was supposed to remember that. Sorry about that. Hold on one second. 6/1/2018. Yeah. So 2018, June timeframe. Or just put June 1. That's what he had before. And of course, that makes a difference too. Accuracy is really important here. That data actually feeds into the algorithms for applied water and for the DU. The next block we're going to go to is a KC curve for your UTC calculations.
Dave, we had a quick question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just amazed at how fast this software works. I mean, you're clicking stuff in and we're getting instantaneous responses. Do you have like a mega network where you are? Is your internet super fast, or what's going on here?
I am literally on my work phone hotspot right now. I'm streaming this with you and everybody else that's watching, and I'm pulling from Jane Logic Live. So I love to show off the connectivity that we have, because it is the best out there. It's phenomenal. I do this in the field. I have no issues at all.
Yeah, that's really something, right? Because I mean, you made me nervous when you just said what you're using, right? You're on a cellular hotspot and it's working this fast.
Yeah.
That's great. I hope it keeps our feed going the whole time, though, right? I know it'll be fine with Jane Logic. I'm not sure with our feed, but no, that's really interesting. I'm always surprised and impressed with how fast this happens.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, with the kids home still doing school, and I got a college student in the house too, two of them right now.
Yeah.
My bandwidth at my personal network is probably worse. So, anyways, all right. So on the coefficient on the KC curve, the almond sandine is the model we're using, and you can see that there's multiples in here. We've just added some new ones. We've even got watermelons in here now, from what I read on the last update, which is pretty awesome. The environmental factor is a crucial code here, and at this field, it was planted in 18, so it's a fourth leaf. That's a fully producing tree. Doesn't mean it's the end of the life. It's just a fully producing tree, and we expect this is, we're going to get from this, better because of more volume because the trees get bigger. But this is about as good as the fruit's going to get. So we set the environmental code to 1. You'll see later that some environmental codes will be at a point something %, and that's based on because they're brand new. They were just planted. And then emergence date is a self-driven number. Our calendar date from the almond sandine KC curve, it gives you automatically the end date. And then I'm going to hit save from there, which I think I already did. And then that's it. So that's pretty much it for the seasonal adjustments. Bringing your root zone potentially down if it's a younger plant, adjusting your environmental factor, and making sure your emergence state's correct. And then from all this,
so I just want to be sure I have it.
Yep.
So number 1, we're going to change that root depth, right? If we've got trees that are maturing, and we want to change the root depths according to where they should be. And then number 2, we want to change that environmental factor based on the age of the plant as well.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And with the environmental factor, we'll never be greater than 1.
Right.
And so if we're mature in 4 years, it'll be 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1.
Right. So pistachios would take a little longer. A row crop would happen a little quicker. You might need to make multiple adjustments if you're really digging in that deep into it, which is great. You can see here when I brought up the infiltration, now the green bar here, which is your root zone, has now moved down to the 36 inch.
Oh, wow.
So now when you look at it, he irrigated here. He didn't quite get to the bottom. So, now if he's trying to push water to 32 and then on to 36, he knows he's got a little ways to go.
So how long did he water for that second watering?
The second irrigation event here was 42.30 hours.
Okay. So in his next schedule, it's got to be a little bit more than that in order to hit the 36. And once again, that'll depend on how hot it gets over the next few days, because we'll have different amount.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Right. And we will, and I'm going to show you right now, we're going to look at the irrigation scheduler, which drives all this. So that Jameson field now, he's showing a forecast of 47 hours. So like you said, we made those seasonal adjustments just to the coefficiency curve and the DU, and it probably brought that number up, because I think before we did this, it was at 42 hours. So it did bring it up because it's recognized that you're going to have to run longer because your DU is not as good as it was. The trees are a little older, and we're potentially shooting for a deeper depth now.
Yeah, so this is really important, Dave, because I don't have to look at that 43 and guess what it needs to be. The software actually tells me how many hours.
That is correct. Yes.
Right. So it takes that guesswork out, makes it very precise to the science of what is happening in the environment real time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And it's looking at predicted weather too. So, I mean, it's really there, this is it. The one of the things I wanted to point out, especially for this demo, is you can see he's got 2 additional ranches within this subfolder. And I'm going to tell you, these both were planted at the same time. So I'm seeing a problem here. One's showing 44, one's showing 15. Again, seasonal adjustments, they will catch these issues, and we're going to go in and check that out right now. So we're going to look at the home ranch 1 site. I'm going to look at the actual field unit. And I can see if I can figure out what's going on here real quick. So we know his crop was planted, it's almonds, it was planted in 2019. He's got irrigation system, drip compensated 0.035, 92. That is a new system. I don't want to make that adjustment until I talk to the customer and either we do a distribution test out there or if he makes his own adjustments on that. But it probably has degraded in some manner. But right here, you see the use start date. Well, that's probably the problem. So that's last year's. And this is why we've got to do this every year. So let's change this to a, oh, that's 2 years ago. Sorry. Let's change this to a 21, which is this year. And I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to hit the home button, back out. And then we're going to go back to the root folder I was looking at. And I'm going to go back to the irrigation scheduler. Let's see if it made any changes. Oh, hadn't done it yet. All right. Some of these changes we make take up to 20 minutes. I guarantee you by the time we're done talking, we will see this change. Yeah, that one kind of bit me there. Sorry about that. But that is, I guarantee you that's the cause of it. And we'll keep taking a look at it here to see if it repairs itself.
Yeah. Okay. So, Dave, there's something else that I heard about recently, and I wasn't sure if this was a real term or kind of a term that we use internally, but it's called Delta T.
Oh, excellent. Yes, we just had a software release, and one of the items that we've added is called Delta T. It's a measurement to determine when you spray, best spraying conditions. You get the least drift and evaporation. It's live, it's on. Growers know about it. They know more about it than I do, but I've played around with it and I definitely see the benefits to using it. I'll give you a quick sample here of what it looks like, because I know it's turned on. And for an example, you can see right here in his weather widget for the wind, he's got a green dot right in the center right now. So his Delta T is at 11.6, which I think it's between 4 and 14 is the optimum time to spray. So he's had a good time to spray. So, and you can see he has no wind and it's dead center. So it's not blowing in any direction. As the wind would pick up, that green dot would move outward in the direction of the wind. And obviously if it's still green, you're still a go to spray for those parameters set. One-on-one, I'd be happy to talk with all of our customers and get this set up. It is not set up automatically. Your account manager will be talking to you to get this turned on, because we want to make sure that everybody knows how to use it before we just turn it on.
So Dave, does Delta T only measure the weather, the wind, and make its recommendation according to the wind, or are there other factors?
So it's relative humidity and temperature.
So really it's going to be the time in which, and I know ET doesn't matter when it comes to spraying, but it's going to be really the time in which ET is the lowest in the day, because it's going to be less windy, less temperature issues, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
It's and like I said, again, I mean, we have a lot of growers out there that will set alerts based on wind speed. If the winds get above a certain amount, they've got a crop next to them that they can't spray by, so they know to cease spraying operation. This is the same thing, but a little more advanced because it's telling you when to, not when not to.
Yeah. Very cool. So Dave, if I'm setting this up, if I'm doing this later on this afternoon at my ranch, and I need some help, I can call you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do I get a hold of you?
Let's do this. Let me. I'm going to try and run this. I don't think I can't do my presentation at the same time I'm sharing my screen. I don't think I could stop sharing. And then I'll share again and see if I can get this to work. Sorry about that. I should have prepped this, and that probably did not share it, did it?
Has not shared it yet, but I'll tell you what, Dave, we're going to make it easy on you because you're one of my favorite presenters. And we're just going to we're going to send a recording out to everybody at the end, and I'll put your email address and your phone number in that. And if people need your help, then they can reach out. Either.
Absolutely. And if you don't know who your account manager is, please call me anyways. I'll get you to the right person.
Okay, great. So Dave, anything else you want to tell the listeners today about what they should be doing preseason?
No, I mean, as long as they're following their steps from their irrigation specialists, like you mentioned earlier, checking drip lines, getting the system fired up, making sure your sand media and your filters are clean, checking pressures. Pressures are big. Yeah, that's about it. Let's go. Let's get some trees growing or some crops growing here.
That's right. Let's get to work. It's a nice day out there today. So
It
anyway,
is, yes.
Dave, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I want to say thank you to all the viewers. And please remember, all of our trainings are at janesusa.com/trainings. You can find them all there. We've categorized them now into ag trainings, AgTech irrigation trainings, landscape. We've got quite a selection there for you to look at. And we're also on Google, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well, which has gotten super popular the last couple months. So it's really cool to see that people are taking advantage of this real portable way to listen to all our training. So Dave, again, thank you. Thanks all of you for joining us today. And hopefully we'll catch you back here on Friday. And Kevin Stewart is going to be talking about how to pick which drip products for the crops that you are producing. Should be really interesting. Looking forward to that. So again, thanks everybody, and we'll see you Friday. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Richard.